So there's a really specific situation in doubles that you should try to get into as often as possible. And this is what it looks like. You and your partner both up, your opponents one up, one back, with the baseliner dealing with a low, short ball. Let me show you exactly what this looks like with high-level college doubles, and then I'll meet you back here to analyze it on the big board. So here we have Stanford University versus UCLA. Let's watch this short point 3 times in a row, and then we'll diagram it. Now, that point doesn't seem super spectacular or anything that you could even learn from, right? Like, what are you going to learn from that short point? Well, what this team does is exactly what you want to do over and over again when you're playing doubles. First, let's talk about this. You have with each point that you play, right, usually one up, one back versus one up, one back. Now, most recreational players who play doubles do not serve and volley. Most of your opponents are going to serve and stay back. And when you are dealing with a second serve, which this is actually a second serve, I didn't show you that, but when you're dealing with a second serve and you find yourself as the returner standing inside the baseline, what I want you to do as often as possible is return serve cross court to the server who is staying back, and watch what he does. He hits cross court, and I want you to watch where he moves. He starts coming forward. By doing this, what he is trying to do is create a situation where it's both up against one up, one back. When you do that, you dominate for several reasons, which we're going to go over. But let's talk about the specifics here. You have the player who just returned serve. He hits it back cross court. He starts moving forward. You'll see both players in red split step at the exact same time. Look at their feet split stepping at the exact same time. And the timing of the split step is to actually land the split step after your opponent makes contact. So you'll see that they are both in the air as the ball is being struck. And then they land the split step after. That synchronizes your brain and your reaction time with when your feet hit the ground. So you want to be landing at the moment you react with your brain, right? With your reaction time. And when you are in the air as your opponent hits, it makes it so that when you land, you can move quickly in any direction. So now the returner is coming forward and he has a volley. Now, I'm a big fan of the idea of hitting the ball to the opponent who is standing where you're standing. Well, it's kind of interesting here. You've got a player on the service line. You would think, well, he's a net person, right? Wouldn't you want to go to the other net person? Well, here's the thing. This is what's considered a low ball. I know it's not super low, but anything that is around net height and below, you're going to want to hit cross court. It's a more neutral volley. I can tell you this right now. If this ball was up here and he could actually crush this ball, he would be taking it right at the net player's feet or even down the line. But because this ball is around hip level, around net level, it's actually smart that he's hitting this ball cross court. Now, the volley that he hits is a very specific volley. First, notice how low the ball goes over the net. By doing that, he's not going to pop it up and give the opponent an aggressive shot that he can rip down the middle or rip down the line. What he's trying to do is give the server a ball very low, which has to be lifted up. And let's watch where the server is standing. If we zoom in here, we can see the server's left foot, that is his left foot, inside the baseline. So the server is dealing with a shorter volley. This is actually what Martina Navratilova calls a newt volley, like a little newt, like that little reptile thing, because it's small and it's low to the ground and it's short and it's actually very difficult for the opponent. A lot of players, when they come forward, a lot of recreational players, when they come forward, they think that hitting hard, deep volleys are in their best interest. Well, that can be something that helps you, but actually hitting a volley that doesn't have a lot of pace and is low and short forces your opponent. You can see the exact situation. We can't see the ball, but we can see how this server is crouching down on his next shot, and he is going to have to lift this ball up. Now, you could say, well, why doesn't he just lob? Like, it would be so easy for him to lob the ball. It's not so easy, especially with a ball that's short in front of you. To get that ball up over your opponent's head and down before the baseline, very difficult. He ends up lifting this ball, blasting it. You'll see that both players in red, see their split steps again, they're synchronized split steps, and they land after the player in blue with the blue hat hits the ball, the server. They land after. That's the proper timing of the split step. And notice they both move for the ball. Now, when a ball, here's a nice little tip. When the ball goes down the middle, it's going to be typically the player who is on that side. That's going to be their ball first if they can get it, because it's actually crossing in front of them, right? Now, if the ball goes through the middle, it's whoever gets there first. Don't think of it as, oh, it's always the forehand. It's not. You can't always think that way. What if you're a lefty and righty and your forehand and forehand are out here, or you both have forehands in the middle? Don't think of, well, it's the forehand in the middle. Typically, if it's down the middle like this from a place in the middle, you both go for the ball. And when it's going to the middle from the outside, it's the player on that side who can get that ball first. But they're both reacting to that ball just in case this player is there, just in case this player can't get it. So they're both correct to turn for that volley, and they let that ball go out. The reason that ball went out, this guy was trying to blast a ball down the middle. He knows he has a low ball, so he has to hurt this team. It would be very risky to go down the line. This shot is nearly impossible. I mean, I don't even think anybody in the world could actually make that shot. That's such a difficult shot. And hitting a lob, as I said, is not as easy as you think on this ball. So going down the middle is typically what your opponents are going to do, but because this volley was so good, it was low and not super hard, it forced the opponent to have to lift up when he hit the ball. Now, let's say this ball came right to these guys. Guess what they're going to do, right? They're going to blast the net player. When you have both up against one up, one back, what you want to do is pick on the net player. Now, you might say, well, Ryan, wouldn't they just volley down the middle? Yes, but it can often be too close to the baseliner, and the baseliner can get it, and the baseliner puts the ball back into play. So you actually want to pick on the opponent who has no time to react, or we'll say a lot less time to react, and they're just a dead duck. So this play of coming in on the return of serve, rather than trying to come in on a serve, because I'll just be honest with you, most recreational players don't feel super confident serving and volleying. But because a lot of your opponents have weaker second serves where you can be inside the court, I mean, these are some of the best college players in the United States, and we've got someone standing inside the court dealing with a second serve. So you can do this at any level, returning a serve in doubles, cross court, and immediately moving forward. Hit that volley, not super hard, low and slightly short, forcing the opponent to hit up. When they do that, you're going to win a lot of those points. Now, before we diagram this on the big board, I just want to remind you, if you're looking for new people in your local area to compete against, practice with, or if you're looking for a coach in your area who can help you with your double strategy, then simply use my link in the description, playyourcourt.com/2-minute tennis. And when you use my link, you get 50% off when you join. All right. The number one scenario that you want to create over and over and over again to dominate doubles matches is you and your partner up against opponents who are one up, one back. That allows you to achieve the magic number of 55% of points won. And I'm no calculus teacher, but that means your opponents are going to win 45%. And when you win 55 and your opponents win 45% of the points, you dominate, and it's a very comfortable match. You typically win the sets at a clip of 6-3. So how do you create this scenario over and over again? Well, to be honest, 25 years of coaching has taught me that it's not serving and volleying. Players resist the idea of serving and volleying because they just don't have enough success with it. So I've actually found that returning and volleying, returning and going forward is something that players are much more willing to do, especially against weaker second serves where the player returning can be well inside the baseline. Then when they hit cross court, and they can hit deep, by the way, like on a serve, you got to serve it into the box and you're standing behind the baseline to start. At least on a return, you can be inside the court. So it's kind of like a little bit of a head start going forward to the net, but you can also hit the ball deeper so you can hurt your opponent typically a little more. Then go forward. Think about the last time you were playing and you were dealing with second serves while standing inside the baseline. Were you hitting cross court and immediately going forward? If you weren't, you were making it harder for yourself to achieve this 55% number. This 55% number is no joke. That Craig O'Shaughnessy has taught us in the tennis industry that when the Serena, Roger Federer, Djokovic, Nadals of the world, when they have their most dominant year on tour, January to December, and they win 2 Grand Slams or they win 3 Grand Slams and they finish year-end number 1, guess what percentage of the points they won that year? 55%. They dominated winning Grand Slams, yet for the entire year, all the points, singular points that they played, not games, not sets, not matches, the points, they were winning 55%, or they won 55% of the points for that year. It's amazing. This is a powerful, powerful number in tennis. So that means you, in order to dominate, you have to be willing to lose 4.5 points out of 10. Right? It's funny. You'd be like, man, that's a lot of points I'm losing. Yeah, you got to lose a lot of points to win Grand Slams, right? So now when you and your opponent are both up, now you need to pick on this opponent. Now we actually didn't see this team pick on this opponent because this server's initial shot was good. He hit the ball pretty low to the returner who came in. So the returner hit cross court. Remember, he hit that backhand cross court. He then goes forward. The server then hits back cross court and gives the volleyer kind of a mid-level volley. It was around net level. So hitting the ball back cross court was a good play. If the server had popped up a ball to one of these guys, you better believe that ball would have been slammed to this side of the court where the person closer to the net is standing. He has a lot less time. The ball's going to get blasted right at him. And they're not going to win just 55% of the points. They're going to win 95% of those points. So you want to, when the ball is high, pick on the person who's closest to you. But the volley was around net level, so hitting the ball cross court was a good play. But there's something very special about that volley. When you're coming forward off of your return and the ball comes to you low, the ball comes to you medium height, hit the ball low back to the server again, but hit the ball low and not super hard. What you will do is pull this player inside the court with a low ground stroke. Your opponents have not developed the touch. I don't think a lot of players, we just saw that from these high-level college players. Your opponents have not developed the touch of a lob from inside the baseline. It's typically not a shot that people hit, especially when the ball is down by their knees or even lower down by their shins. So if they go for a lob, they're often going to hit that ball way too hard or way too softly. Your opponents have grooved the feeling of hitting a lob from way behind the baseline. That's why if you hit a really hard, deep volley, you actually often play into your opponent's hands. Because they're leaning back, makes it actually pretty easy to hit the lob. They're farther back, so they have a lot of time. They can hit the ball super high. This gives this player time to go back. This volley that he hit, that Martina Navratilova calls the Newt Volley, N-E-W-T, like that little reptile thing, right? It's short, it's low to the ground, and when you hit the ball short and low to the ground, pulling this player forward, you put them in a real predicament. Now they're going to have to hit a shot that they don't want to hit, and it's what we saw. He had a low ball, and he tried to blast it through the middle, but because the ball was low, he had to lift it up, and that's what made the ball go out. I want to encourage you to, when you are returning serve, and you get a second serve that allows you to stand inside the baseline, hit the ball cross court, and immediately move forward. If your opponent pops it up, then you and your partner hit it at this player who will not have enough time to react. If they hit it low to you, hit a ball low over the net and not super hard, pulling this player forward, putting them in a really bad situation. You're trying to win 55% of the points in your matches in order to dominate the match and typically win the sets on an average of 6-3. You have to be willing to lose 45% of the points. Maybe on your palm, write 45%. And anytime you lose a match, just look at your palm and go, well, that's one of the points I have to lose in order to reach the 45%, in order to be like Serena or be like Djokovic or be like Federer, or be like Nadal. You have to be willing to lose points. The tennis court is a mistake center. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. You just want to win 55 to your opponent's 45. If you learn to go forward and play both up against one up, one back in doubles, there's no doubt you're going to gain confidence, win more matches, and play much better tennis. This is Ryan Rudy from 2minutetennis.net. You got this.